Probably the most common problem that I get from people with tri-powers is problems with idle. There are a lot of reasons for it. I'm going to cover some of them here. Um, Basically, just to cover the basics again, when you start your car, the end carburetor should be dead. So if you start it and it's idling, take off your air cleaners, place your hands just cup a little over the end carburetors. You're not trying to stop any air. If you do that and it's leaking air, it'll suck your hand down, pull the fuel out of the float bowl, and you'll have a wet hand. And if you have a fire, you'll know it right away, won't you? But anyway, check. Let's assume that you check the end carburetors and they're not leaking air. Then the focus is on the center carburetor. If they are leaking air, I covered in the past section about sealing the throttle bodies. That's one of the problems. That's one thing you might need to do. The other thing you might need to do, this accelerator pump rod, if it's bent wrong or cockeyed, it can hold the throttle open just a little bit, and then you will have a horrible vacuum leak. So I'd say if you feel some vacuum pull in the end carburetor, I would remove, I don't have any clips in here, so I would remove the accelerator pump rod from the carburetor that's suspicious. The other thing you should do, I would remove the long rod between the front and rear carburetors just to isolate the carburetor, then snap it shut a few times, make sure it's closing well, start it up, try it again. If you still have a vacuum leak, then you need to back up and reseal the throttle bodies, or maybe need a new throttle shaft. So let's say now you've resolved that, it's still idling rough and no vacuum leaks in the end carburetors. Basically, you just look around everywhere that you could possibly have a vacuum leak. You've got your power steering, or I'm sorry, power brake line you can check. Make sure there's no vacuum leaks in there. I've had people say that their booster leaks. I think that's pretty rare, but if you're really concerned about that, you could pull this off the booster and cap it. I've also seen vacuum leaks at the F fitting, so you might want to check if you have a plastic fitting. It could be cracked. Even these metal ones, these aftermarket ones, can break. So check to make sure there's no leaks around here. You don't need clamps on this. You have the right size hose. This 5/16 hose on a 65 and down, and then 3/8 on the 65 and up. So make sure that you also might want to check the PVC grommet that's in your valley pan. They get old and brittle, and you could have a vacuum leak there. So you want to try and eliminate all the vacuum leaks. If it's still idle and rough, I guess the next thing I would, probably by now you've already worked with the idle adjustment screws. If you have a lot of times these the center carburetor gets substituted for the wrong carburetor. Typically on a 65 and earlier, the small carburetor, not unusual at all to have a Chevy carburetor on there. If that's the case, it might not have large enough idle circuit. So if you back out the idle screws all the way and you're still idle and rough, you're not getting enough. Cover that in the next section, but how to open up the idle circuits, that might be where you're having a problem. So again, check for vacuum leaks. Make sure you focus your attention on the end carburetors and vacuum leaks before you worry about the center carburetor. What a lot of people are recommending, and I guess it's not a bad idea, you could make a solid gasket out of wood, plywood, anything, and put a blocking plate between the carburetor and the manifold. That would seal it completely, but I don't really think that's necessary if you've eliminated. If you can put your hand over the end carburetors and feel very little to no vacuum pull, I don't see that that's necessary, but it certainly is a surefire way to make sure you don't have any leaks in that area. Those are the primary things that I recommend, and most of the customers that I work with, by the time they've tried those things, if they don't solve the problem, at least they've isolated it to the center carburetor. And if you're having a lot of trouble, send me an email, and we can communicate that way, or you can call me.